afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Rourke. Hello, John. It's good to see you all. My name is Jonathan Rudder. I'm the Executive Director and Curator here at the Rourke. And I want to thank you all for coming out for Kathy Freese's opening reception today. As an organization, we try to prioritize working with brilliant young artists. It helps to keep our organization, which is 65 years old now, new and renewed with each successive generation who presents their work here. We want to give these folks space and give them the license to go a little crazy with it sometimes. And Kathy, given the space, has certainly filled it. and most admirably so. We've been watching Kathy's work since she was a student at MSUM. Yet another wonderful sculptor to receive the tutelage of Chris Walla at that institution. And boy, I'm really excited for Kathy to tell us what's going on upstairs. Vibrant colors, dynamic forms, and also behind it some really compelling content. Before I welcome Kathy down here to take the mic, I do need to thank some of the folks who make what we do possible. First and foremost, our members. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You keep the doors open and the lights on. I also need to thank the Minnesota State Arts Board, the FNRA Foundation, and the Arts Partnership for their critical operating support. Lastly, but certainly not least, with Kathy's show, I need to thank our staff for their work on this. This required some extra and special effort, and it was well worth it, Kathy. Happy to do it. I particularly want to thank Cameron Peterson. He put in some overtime on this one and needed to do some engineering. The evidence up above you. So, with that, please join me in welcoming Kathy Freese to the Rourke.
Hello, I'm so glad to see all of your faces here today. I know so many of you from my community and all the places I love to be, and I'm really glad you're here. And for those new faces, I'm glad to see you too, and grateful for the opportunity to show my work here. I want to echo that thanks to Cameron and all the staff who helped me stay up late and do work, and they helped me on all sorts of odd hours, and I'm very, very grateful for all of their help. I could not have done it without amazing staff here. So I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about my work, and then I'll open up the floor for questions. And if you're curious, please ask, because I love to talk. I love to talk. So my name is Kathy Freese. I have been living in Fargo and or Moorhead for the last 6 years. I received an education at MSUM in studio arts with specialties in ceramics, sculpture, and a minor in art therapy. So I do like to teach as well, and I teach often. But my art primarily deals with themes of gender and labor, which I know sounds kind of heavy, especially considering all of the glitter and silly things right above us. And I use those glitter and silly things and fun touchable surfaces so that you can feel invited to come on in. You can come look, touch, kind of be welcomed into that space, and then you can kind of experience the deeper meaning once you've been welcomed in. So I would like to talk about 3 or 4 of my pieces, and if you have questions about the others, I'm going to be here till at least 3, and I'm happy to answer them directly after. The first piece I'd like to talk about with you today is a piece called Overtime. You might recognize that piece because it is a bunch of cleaner bottles on the floor. And you might be thinking to yourselves, why the heck is this lady displaying so many cleaner bottles? What is her deal? I'll tell you. So, Throughout the year, women perform, on average, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 328 additional hours of unpaid labor. That doesn't mean men don't work. That doesn't mean men don't help. That just means that there's a little bit of a disparity, and over time it adds up to be 328 hours. So, in order to show that visually, I made those bottles. And I went ahead and I made that amount of bottles and I threw them upstairs here so that you can see visually what that time difference looks like when given an entire year. And I want to make that point without blaming anybody, making anyone feel bad. I just want to show visually that time in a friendly way that allows people to come look and experience it and then move on and acknowledge that. And I ask you to also acknowledge that, think about what that means for you and the people you love and how you want to continue to show up going forward. Another piece I want to talk about is a piece called Dobbs. When you walk in, you'll see it right away. It's a big red piece, 14 feet long, that says the word eviscerate. Now some of you might recognize it as beautiful cursive font. It is also kind of like red guts, but like the couch cushion equivalent of red guts, you know, it's cute and fun and shiny and fringy, but really it is talking about the stripping away of rights that we once had in our nation. And, you know, I welcome everybody to have their own personal beliefs, but I also welcome you to come sit with that piece, experience it, and just think about what that means for us when we make changes like that. And then finally, I'm trying to think of what piece I want to talk about because there's so many crazy pieces up there. I would like to talk about the piece called Wallow. You'll see that piece in the first room as well. That is a piece with a matte black figure kind of sinking into the floor. You will see latch hooked carpeting that is right below that figure. When you see that, I'd like you to think about the feeling in your heart when you feel shame. That piece is about feeling shame and what it does to your body and what the feeling does to your heart. So the carpet acts as kind of like a mold. It's got those like bright warning colors and those like spurts of intense colors that really don't match. That was on purpose, so that it feels like a moldy, icky feeling, and that figure is being pulled down into that feeling. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that when you're feeling shame, you can recognize it and move through it so that you can go on and become what you're meant to become. Anyways, those are 3 of my pieces. There's many more I could go on and on about, but I'm curious about what kind of questions you guys have for me. Yeah?
Can you talk about the sandbox?
I can. I would love to talk about the sandbox. My art is varying degrees of commercial. Some of it is like tiles that would look really good in your living room. They're kind of like a red herring where it's like, they're just a pretty thing, but look over here and you'll find something about feminism, you know what I mean? The sandbox, however, is not one of those things. The sandbox is probably the most conceptual piece. And my friend Jackson used to always tease me because he would say, you say you're not a conceptual artist, and then you make a sandbox with glitter sand. What is wrong with you? So, I digress. That piece is called Escape, and it's about the mental place that you go in your head when things are really, really bad, and you feel so icky, and things just feel so out of control, and you can find your beach. You know, people always say that, like that idiom, find your beach in your head when things are really lame and shitty. Find your beach, right? So I wanted to have that physical representation of finding your beach. So I've got this pink sandbox. I've got 3 pounds of glitter mixed into some vermiculite. Looks kind of like sand, but it's really light. If you want to touch it, you're welcome to. And I've got those typical beach things you would find there. Towels, but they're rumpled. Sunglasses, but they're broken. And a poster of a beautiful pink sanded ocean that you're not going to get to visit because it's on your head. And so that piece, Escape, is about that internal feeling of, I gotta go somewhere because I can't stay here, you know? Yeah. Yes?
Can you talk about the difference between shame and guilt? Because those words are often intermixed. And when you talk about your Wallow piece, I want to know why you chose shame instead of that feeling of guilt.
I think that's a really excellent question, genuinely. Shame is something that comes from you. It comes from yourself. Shame is from the middle of the essence of your soul. You feel it to the root of yourself that you are not worth anything, or whatever it is that's keeping you kind of chained within your own prison of your head. Guilt, however, is different. Guilt is a feeling that people place on you. So if you're feeling guilty, it's probably because someone might be causing you to experience that feeling. But shame is icky, because shame comes from you. That's like your own stuff that you have to unpack, which is hard and lame. Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder what's specific to you. What are you ashamed about? What rights are you saying eviscerated? It seems like you're working to have the whole audience occupy themselves from these pieces, but what is specific to your experience as an artist?
Well, specific to my experience, I think the piece Lalo, I actually made before I was out. So the shame for me was that I was a little gay little baby and I wasn't out. And I was so scared all the time, and I was worried that I wouldn't have a family if I came out. I was worried that people wouldn't love me anymore, and that I would give up so many things, and I was having such a hard time and feeling so many horrible feelings of shame that I really wanted to make a piece about it. And I'm really grateful that I'm out now and I can talk about my experience as a gay person, and for me that's what my shame was about. And some people have other shameful things too, and I think it's important that art comes from personal experience but also appeals to wider feelings. Because I don't know anybody who hasn't experienced shame for some reason. I mean, if we all think in our heads right now, I'm sure there's something that you're like, I don't like that, that's not good, I don't like that at all. And you know, for me, it's being gay. I'm good now, you know, I've had a lot of time to work through it. No, but everybody's got something different, and I think it's important that not only do we do art about cool, fun things, or do art about political issues, I think we should do art that invites us to explore ourselves as well, and kind of think about, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I feeling this shame? What is this piece making me feel in my heart right now? What am I noticing about my body when I'm looking at this work? So it's less about me and my selfish feelings. It's more about like, how could this apply to those around me and create a community where we can acknowledge shame in general?
Why do you use the word selfish?
Well, I think selfish because it's very personal. Like, I think personal is it's a great tool in your toolbox as an artist. You can use your personal experiences and your feelings to create art that is really meaningful for a variety of folks, if that makes sense. So I'm using my not selfish, but my self-experience perhaps, to create art for myself, of course, because everybody's egotistical, you know. I love to explore myself, but it's also for a wider audience of folks so that they can experience that with me and say, hey, I have that too. Dang, that sucks. And they can keep walking and look at the sandbox and the big cry. And the lumpy thing on the floor that says fight. Yeah. Do you have a question? Mason?
You talked about how in your undergrad you majored in sculpture and ceramics, but throughout your pieces there's a lot of textiles and texture work and like fabric usage. What coming from like a sculpture and ceramics background, is it like a conscious choice to incorporate all these felts and textures and other things as well, to like soften some of those harder edges that you might see in like ceramic?
Yes. Okay. It's so intentional. It's so very intentional. I love textiles because they're rooted in the domestic. And my art is kind of about that side of things, that home, domestic. I want it to feel really cozy and crafty. Sometimes I want it to feel like cheap, chintzy, like acrylic yarn. Sometimes I want it to feel luxurious, like the inside of Ladylike, the large female anatomy piece that I have in there. If you want to come face to face, I invite you to go upstairs and do that. But I use textiles strategically because they're so complex and unique and movable. So I can just take that shape and make a pattern into anything I want. And there's so many ways to use textiles, and it's so rooted in the female experience to sew, to mend, to cross stitch, to embroider. All of these crafts that are like kind of under the radar and not treated really as fine art. I think that's changed kind of recently, but historically, when you think cross stitch, you certainly don't think rock climbing. You think some other lady's kitchen, or when you think sewing machine, you think of your aunt teaching you how to sew, or when you think felt, you probably think crafts, right? So I'm kind of trying to get you to put your brain space back into the home and using those familiar materials that women before me have used forever. Yeah. Yes.
Have you used it? You say you studied art therapy or are working in it. Do you use your pieces in art therapy?
No, I'm not licensed to do art therapy. I have a minor, so that means that I took psychology classes and art classes. That being said, I think in recent history, so the last couple of years, the most important thing that I can do as a human being is teach art. And the reason I think that is because I want people to have positive, creative ways to deal with their stress. So therefore, I teach in the community and I work with kids, so I get to teach them art every week too. And I think that's my favorite way to use my art. I do love creating, but mostly I really like connecting. And that's the really important part. And that's why I'm so grateful you guys are here to experience and connect with the pieces, because if y'all aren't here, then it's just dusty. Yeah. I got them on sale at Joann's. It was the best day of my life. I used Visa gift cards to buy it, and it is like a Singer costume making sewing machine. So it's like the heavy duty one. Very approachable, very affordable workhorse of a sewing machine. And you can sew like 18 layers. It's crazy. So upstairs in that room, there's a piece that is called Big Baby, and it just says cry in really big letters. I dare you to go touch it. Just boop it if you want. But I dare you. And cry, I made a beautiful skin, but I bunched up a bunch of yarn bunches, and I put it through that sewing machine. They were that thick, and they just right through it. Crazy, right? Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite artists? I'm curious how, if they did, how their style of work was influenced in your collection.
I think it's so hard to not be influenced by the artists that you admire. I'm thinking of so many in my head. I think first I'll start small. The artist I most admire is Chris Walla, because he's my teacher and he's so special. And I think without Chris Walla, I wouldn't have made any sculptures, you know? I think it takes a special person to take a student and poke at them until they do what you want them to, you know? But more interestingly, I think what comes to mind, I'm not a performance artist, but Marina Abramovic is somebody who I really appreciate, and I think it is her dedication to her craft and her dedication to the monotony of art that is really important to me that I take from her. She does this exercise on her art retreats where she just gives you like a bag of beans, and she's like, your job is to sort these, and that's what we're doing today. And people pay hundreds of dollars to do this with her, and it's to help you focus. And like I translate those same skills and that same discipline when I'm making, because anybody who does art, and I know a lot of you do partake in doing art, it takes a lot of like fine detail work, and you have to have that discipline and focus to actually get anything done, especially when you're working big or working with stitching. And then another artist, I won't bore you past two, but another one is Lisa Liu. She does the kitchen. It took her like 5 years to make, and she made this room-size installation, full beads of a kitchen. And I think it touches on some of those same gender labor topics as me, and then also she just like pushes herself to her very limit edge, which I think is super metal for somebody who works with beads. Yeah. Very metal. Yeah. Yeah.
When you're creating art, do you usually like start with an idea, or do you start with the materials? Because I know that you move between a lot of different genres. Like, are you thinking like, I want to do something with what I have here, or is it more I want to make this idea and it would be best under these conditions?
It's It's both. It definitely depends on how much money I have, I gotta be honest with you. So like for some sculptures, I'm scrounging for sure, because that's what a good artist does. We scrounge, we find the best thing to fit our needs. Like this big piece here and the piece that says eviscerate, the theater department at my college had like 50 yards of red felt just laying there, and I said, I can use these for my evil plans, right? Other times, I'll save up a bunch of money and get the perfect material for what I need. But I always start with a sketch, then that moves to a plan with measurements. Then that will move to either a maquette, or if I'm doing like textiles, then I'll make my own life-size plan, like you would make a shirt with a plan. I make a sculpture with a plan, and then I sew it up. Usually it looks pretty close to my image. I feel really good about myself when it does. Yes.
Just curious about the process. Do you like work on one piece at a time, or do you work on multiple at a time? And if you do work multiple at a time, do they kind of influence each other at a certain point?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So, when I was in school, I was a crazy person, and I would be doing 3 things at once. I would always be in like 3 studio classes, and I would always be doing at least 2 things, one at home, one at school, one in a secret third space, like a random table in the back of the school. I always had everything everywhere, and people would be like, why is there string in my wood shop? Why is there glitter in our shared living room? My roommate would say. I think one time Jackson stepped on a pin because I was doing art at his house. But anyways, there have been times where it's been everything, everywhere, all the time, always, and I'm carrying my art in bags. And then there are times like now, I work a full-time job that's not in the arts, which I love, and so I've got time to do one piece at a time. So it looks really, really different post-college too when you're making things. Yeah. So the answer is it depends. Yes.
Beyond social commentary, what's the goal for your work, even posthumously?
Well, I would say, idle hands, right? Gotta keep it busy, keep it going, gotta do something.
Do you plan to sell them all, donate them to collections, or continue to exhibit? You said the kitchen, you wish to go to Whitney, or any goal institutions for you?
My goal is to be a nice person and make art. That being said, it is for sale. And I would like to continue to exhibit, but irregardless, even if nothing sells and I never exhibit again, I'll probably still be playing around with yarn.
Let's get a big washing machine.
All right, is that everybody's questions? Okay, yes.
Was this piece at MSUM?
Yes, it was.
Did it win an award or something?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So, in your background, did you do any traditional sewing, knitting, craft stuff? Like as a child, did you do?
So I'm looking at my mom. Yes, perler beads. The sensation that swept the nation. Perler beads, glitter glue, fuzzy art, everything. And I honestly, it's never changed because I'm always doing everything poorly. I'm never doing anything super, super, super well. I'm always a jack of all trades, master of none. So you'll see me quilt, but it's not going to be lined up. You will see me sew, but there's going to be a weird stitch in there if you look really closely. Things like that. So I really like to do all types of art. I don't know how to knit. I would actually like to learn this year. I just know how to cross stitch, which is really interesting because that kind of connects me to my mom. She used to cross stitch before she had as many crazy responsibilities, like the job kids of it all. So it's a really nice way for me to connect with my family's craft too. So I feel close to my mom when I do that now. But I would do and will do all sorts of art just with abandon for no reason. Yeah.
Who posed for the sculpture, the black one?
That would be my naked body.
Oh. And for materials, have you ever focused on biodegradability since you speak so much on women's rights and these plastic items that wash the sea, or countries where women are being exploited in sweatshops and such, so.
I think that's a good thing for me to consider more going forward, and I'm grateful for your point. I really am. I think I use materials that are accessible to me, and I think I could do more to choose materials that are nicer to other people. Yeah. Yes, Katie.
If you ever need to focus, I have a whole bucket of perler beads you can just sort at my house. But in all seriousness, I'm curious about like the way you process ideas. Like these ideas are really big. Like once the work is completed, do you feel like the idea is completed? Like what ideas are you processing right now going forward? Like do you feel like it just like is a continuation, or do you feel a conclusion when the work is done?
I think that's a really good question too. I think there are some pieces that I think about a lot and some pieces that I never want to think about again. I think my piece about shame is one piece that is all by itself. It gets to exist. I don't continue my work with that now. But I really enjoy pondering the textiles and the text that goes on them. Like the words that I choose, I think about a lot when I'm like trying to go to sleep at night. Like, what would be a good word? No, that's a bad word. What is the significance? How does the color of the word affect its meaning? What does the font mean? I'm thinking about it a lot. It's like haunting my nightmares all the time. So in that respect, I'm continuing that kind of thing and like what kind of methods I want to use as far as like, do I want to quilt this year? Do I want to cross stitch? And I think I know when an idea is done, when I'm finished the piece, and I'm just like, that was all I could do. I can't do anything else. Whether it's good or bad, that is all she wrote. And like for me, the cleaner bottle piece up there, when I was done with that, it was like a Herculean effort to do that piece. I think between making the molds and then making the hundreds of pounds of casting slip and then casting each one and then glazing each one, the loading, the unloading, the packing, the unpacking, the packing again, etc. By the time I was done with that piece, I was like, I'm never going to do that again. Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
With your materials, like when you start, like, is it usually material influenced when you start? Like, I'm going to do the quilting project, but it's the quilting project versus like, I don't know if it should be ceramic or a quilting project, or.
I think it's a little of both. So like if I'm deciding in my mind ahead of time, am I going to be working with clay, one of my favorite mediums, or am I going to be working with textiles? And then from there, I'll come up with my idea from there. Because for ceramics, I do different things because it's like inherently different than textiles. And then when I'm working with textiles, I start to pull from my bank of words, the ideas that I have in my head, my sketches and stuff that I've got floating around on endless papers. And then I kind of decide what would be best for this piece. Do I need to make it giant and crazy, or could I make it tiny? Like, there's a cross-stitch piece upstairs called Heartline. It's really little and kind of probably easy to miss. It just says no, no, no. But each no is more dissolved than the previous one. And I think I like that it's small, and I like that it's red, and I like that it's cross-stitched. Does that make sense? Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm endlessly grateful to see all of you new faces and returning faces and friends and family and a room full of people I care about, and I'm grateful you're here, and thank you for coming. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone. The art is upstairs. The coffee and donuts and cookies are back there. The artist is right here. Talk to her, talk to one another. I also want to let you know we have some events coming up later this week. On Thursday evening, we are welcoming Dr. Noni Brynjolfsson to deliver a lecture right here. Doors open at 6 p.m. Lecture commences at 6:30 p.m. The night after, about half of the work on the walls here is going up for auction. So we welcome you to participate in that. We do our benefit auctions every 2 years, and it helps us to do everything that we do. Yeah.
What's the lecture about?
Oh, goodness. It's heady content. It's beyond me. Katie?
Artist as educator, and it's exploring artists doing pedagogical experiments, but it's going to be intriguing and Noni is lovely, so y'all should. There will be
That's-
cookies there too. Nice.
Yep, that, cookies Thursday, auction Friday, not cookies, but hors d'oeuvres, wine, beer, cocktails, come, eat, drink, and bid. Thank you all.